You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns.
Welcome to Chakras and Shotguns, the podcast that guides you on a journey of spiritual development and personal preparedness. I'm Mick, a marketer, shaman, and prepper.
And I'm Jen, a former lawyer, now yoga instructor and wellness entrepreneur.
So over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of discussion on social media about going no contact, cutting off people who, you grew up with. That could be friends, that could be your parents, that could be siblings. And, there's just been a lot of folks who have been kind of navigating these relationships. But what about the lingering energy that remains after you have cut ties with these people? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get all into cord cutting, soul ties, and energetic attachments.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we want to remind you to check out our Patreon. We have a ton of benefits, including monthly sessions with Mick and I, quarterly Ask Me Anythings, discounted merch. We're also doing a cord cutting meditation and visualization exercise that will be exclusive to Patreon members. So definitely check that out. You don't want to miss out.
All right, let's begin as we always do with a breathwork meditation to put us into a mindful place.
Yeah. So in the spirit of cord cutting, we're going to do a little mini visualization of recalling your energy. So we put our energy in so many things, right? Work, family, friends, hobbies, situations that happened in the past, children, et cetera, et cetera. So are you playing with the full deck, so to speak, energetically? So let's get into it. So go ahead and find a comfortable seat. You can always lie down. Place one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, and start to connect to your breath. Take a deep inhale in through your nose, expanding your belly. And exhale that breath back out through your mouth, completely emptying yourself of all air. Let's do that again together. Inhale through your nose. And exhale out through your mouth. Let's do one more. Inhale through your nose. Can you become more expansive? Can you take in more air? And this time, seal your lips closed and exhale your breath back out through your nose. Beautiful. Allow yourself to breathe normally and just noticing your breath as it comes in and out. I want to ask you to visualize yourself. Sometimes I see myself sitting cross-legged or my body in whatever position I'm meditating in. And imagine yourself surrounded by golden light. Now I would ask you to visualize and ask this visualization, this imagery of yourself, to show you all of the different directions where your energy is currently going. So they may look like rays of light coming out of this image of self. Maybe it's only a couple directions. Maybe it looks like a spider web. Don't overthink it. Just stay in the moment. Now that you have a complete picture of all of the different directions where your energy is going, start to imagine at the end of each ray of light, there's a little hook, and start to unhook each of those. And as you unhook each line, each piece of your energy. Start to reel that energy back into self. Feel that energy start to come back into your energetic body. Just acknowledging anything that comes up. Maybe you're aware of a situation that no longer serves you, that was still holding on to some piece of you, with the intention of reclaiming your energy, of being your whole energetic self. Continue to reel in each of those pieces of yourself until you feel that it's complete. Take a deep inhale in through your nose. And as you exhale, feel the feeling of gratitude for this completeness, this wholeness, this return to self. When you're ready, start to wiggle your fingers, your toes, bringing your awareness back into the room. Flickering your eyes open last. Welcome back. Let's get on with the show.
All right. I got to say, I was a little sluggish when we first started, energetically. I felt like I got a little boost. So, got to do that more regularly.
Yeah. It's like, and we talk about compartmentalizing a lot, just in general, like people do, right? And the idea when I was first introduced to this concept of like recalling your energy, I was like, oh, I'm not just compartmentalizing like my attention or my mind, like, oh, I'm at work, I'm not thinking about my kids, but like your energy's going in a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
And you're trying to multitask, you're trying to get rest, you're trying to pour energy into like things that, you might want to have more attention. And like, are you really working with like your full capacity? You got to close some apps. You know how like your battery capacity like goes lower and lower on your phone if you charge it too much, or got to get that battery capacity back up. All right, let's talk about cord cutting. Let's talk about it.
So what is it? I think we should probably first talk about what energetic cords are before we talk about cutting them. So let's go there first. Basically, these energetic cords are things that are established when we are in relationship with folks, right? So like we got a cord. Pretty strong cord.
Does it got a braid? It's braided up.
Probably.
I think it's like locks.
I'm rocking with that.
Okay.
But anyway, so essentially these cords are going to be formed through emotional intimacy, right? So these are the cords that we have with our friends, our family, our romantic partners. And they usually come from shared experiences, emotional bonds, relationship like dynamics, so like love and codependency, and even trauma or negative experiences can form cords. Yeah.
I was like, as you were saying that, well, you guys are the trauma and the negative experience. Like I even feel like I had a cord with prior places where I worked, where I had a lot of emotion invested in the career or trying to make people pleased with me or impress people or succeed. And I felt like a lot of my energy was like tied up into that, which is kind of gross because like it was with an entity, like a corporate entity. Ooh, capitalism. So
I think about pledging, Now I think my philosophic outlook on pledging has evolved over time. And I got to, throw in the caveat that Alpha Phi Alpha is a non-hazing organization. But in theoretically, we're talking about pledging, the idea of having an experience that is taxing, that is, some people might call it traumatic, depending on where you came through, that does create a connection, a bond with the folks that you do it with, which is kind of like the basis of the idea. Like we put these people through something, they come out tight together. I don't know. I mean,
that's interesting.
From a spiritual perspective, thinking about energies and energetics, like it kind of does work, but
yeah. And I mean, At what cost? In its purest form, it's about creating a brotherhood or a sisterhood for sororities, right? That your line is who you're supposed to be deeply connected to. So, it's
interesting. I mean,
it's interesting.
You know me and my line brothers. I have 6 line brothers. We're extremely tight.
Y'all are an anomaly. I'm what's known as a GDI, goddamn independent. So, I have the bird's eye view. I can just like look in and see it. And I've never seen a line with that many people that are that close. So it's beautiful.
Shout out to my LB.
Aww. Anyway, so these chords can be helpful. They're the ties that bind us together, right? We see this in mixed line, but in like our relationship or our relationship with our kids or with our parents, etc. So like, think of the relationship between a mother and a child, for example, like that deep emotional connection. That's part of it. Even feels like it might even be like a survival mechanism, right? That you think about breastfeeding, for example, and that it releases these hormones that for the mother, like releases serotonin. I can't remember. It's one of the good ones, not oxycodone. That's a pill, but you know what I'm saying. Oxytocin, my Lord, today. So when you feel those deep emotional connections with each other, like I'm more invested in making sure that you survive, right? Or that you're well. The child is like, I have this emotional connection to this person. So that's the person I'm going to go to for help, for comfort, for nurturing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these chords reinforce and like deepen our connections with each other over time. And so feeling deep love with others, that helps us grow and evolve, right? That's it's community. Like I feel like we're always talking about this epidemic of loneliness, and the chords that connect us, like we're not that different from mushrooms, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We connected, like, fungi.
Yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I felt it though.
I mean, I guess we talked about that in the mushroom episode, that like mushrooms can communicate with each other like through their roots. And basically the idea of it is like, we're not just silos. Like we're built for connection. We're built for these ties. And I feel like people talk about being touch starved, right? Like they were like, I didn't really get any hugs during the pandemic because I was like by myself and living by myself. But also like energetically, like we're always reaching for each other and we're always reaching to try and make some type of connection. So the benefits of having these chords is, you can feel grounded, you feel safe, you feel seen. That's 101 root chakra, like the base level of your energetic body. You can experience joy, pleasure. That's your sacral. You find inner confidence when you feel grounded and held by other people. So that's your solar plexus. Love, of course, it opens up our heart chakra. And like, those are like the real, like tribal, fundamental type of the energy spaces in our bodies. So it's very, very interesting when you think about it from that perspective. Like, I think, we kind of came into it with like, you trying to block people on your phone, but are you blocking them energetically? But also like they're there for a reason and they are important.
Let's talk a little bit about the not so fun relationships.
Yeah.
The breakups and whatnot. I don't know why Usher's Let It Burn popped into my head, but
Lord.
The ones you gotta let go of. So I think for one, we talk a lot about being present. I've talked before about the book, The Power of Now, by Eckhart Tolle, that I love. And he talks all about how we spend so much time like either in the past worrying about things and kind of ruminating on past traumas and experiences, or we're worried about the future. And really what happens is our brain doesn't really know how to tell time. It's like, where are we in the present? Are we in the past? And so like when you're reliving some of these past traumas, your brain is still kind of experiencing it as if it was happening right now. Right. And so what that does a lot of times is when we're, reminiscing or thinking about these past relationships, I guess not reminiscing sounds like it's positive. It's more so ruminating on the bad things. We're reliving those emotions of anger and hurt and pain and whatnot. And so a lot of times these lingering emotions can prevent us from moving forward. And so we kind of need to address those.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know how many times I've been like recounting. We got a lot of R words, reminiscing, ruminating, recounting about like a conversation or a run-in I had with someone. And maybe it's not like a whole like emotional entanglement maybe it was that rude flight attendant the other day, or maybe, you know what I mean? But it's just like, what I should have said was, and then I'm getting myself worked up. I like physically feel myself getting worked up all over again. When I heard that fact that our brain couldn't tell time, I was like, oh, what have I done to myself?
Putting yourself in a little emotional time machine over and over again.
They were like, we are still in 1990 when that lady said I could not get a trophy from the church fashion show because I didn't do a twirl, and I thought that was really stupid. Do you have enough trophies or not? You see how I'm getting myself.
I was thinking about that computer science teacher or computer literacy class you had, typing class.
Oh my gosh! See, why are you trying to send me back?
My bad. I thought that's where you were going, and so I didn't know you had another church.
You're trying to zap me.
We'll do some chord cutting later for that one.
I know. I feel like I've talked about it on the podcast before.
Go ahead.
But let's relive it again. I was the best typer in 8th grade. And I'm still a phenomenal typer. Call me Mavis Beacon. If you know, you know. And my typing teacher told me at the end of the year, she was like, you were the best typer. Hands down, you deserve the best typing award. But I feel like you're getting a lot of awards end of the year because I was that girl. And we're going to give it to so-and-so because she should get an award. And me being the burgeoning people pleaser that I was growing to be, I was like, that sounds nice. We should give her an award. She's my friend. And I never told my mom about it. And she was pissed about it because she would have went up there and raised hell. But that was not nice. That was not fair. And I should have stood up for myself. But also, I'm more mad at her because she was taking advantage of a child. Yeah. So anyways, it's not that big of a deal. I don't even know if that lady's still with us. So
the energy might still be there. We might do a little chord cutting for you.
I'm over here reviving her.
Yeah. Energetically.
To what? 25 years ago.
We'll talk about chord cutting. Let's talk about this practice that we probably need to do.
Let's get on task. I don't even need to cut a chord with that heifer. Anyways.
Sound like it's a me.
Okay. So chord cutting is a ritual or a practice that helps you sever energetic attachments to people that you would like to release. Okay. So nothing negative happens. Because when I first heard about chord cutting, I was like, whoa, I don't want them to feel anything. I don't want them to know nothing about what I'm doing, period. But it's nothing negative that happens with them. It's just a letting go. So think of it as like we did in our exercise together earlier. You're recalling your energy from that person or that situation. You're removing the entanglement.
Yeah. I actually find the phrase chord cutting to be a little bit violent. So I actually think of it as like chord releasing. Okay. Because I think that is, I don't know, it's more accurate to kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, it feels more gentle.
Yeah.
Almost like you've been holding something and you're just like letting it go.
Exactly.
Versus like cutting something off in the middle.
Yeah. It feels like amputation or something.
Yeah. So like, what are some surefire signs that you need to do a chord cutting ritual? So do you have someone in your head that you just can't get out of your head? And I wonder sometimes if people have people in their head and they're like, this must mean that we need to get back together, or this must mean that I need to call this person. And then they call them or they get back together and they were like, you're a terrible person. Yeah. You're toxic.
It's not what that was. It wasn't a sign.
Right. Now, definitely if you're like, I don't want to think about this person. I'm so tired of this person. There's an Ari Lennox song where she's like talking about seeing this person on her TV screen. Like she's just like, please.
Yeah, enough.
So you've blocked them on everything. People keep mentioning them. Oh my gosh, I just saw Joan the other day. I don't know why I said Joan, but and you're just like, I don't want to talk about that heifer no more. Yeah. You're even dreaming about them. Yeah. And what are the dreams? Like, are they violent? Are they hurting your feelings? Are you reliving situations? Are they situations where it's like, if I ran into this person now, how would this go? And it's not pleasant. So are you feeling drained? Are you feeling stuck? Especially after like a breakup or any type of relationship. And when we're saying relationship, it's like friendships, familial, whatever. Are you feeling like really drained from it? again, your energy might be still entangled with that person or that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you constantly thinking about the negative experiences?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's kind of a window if we're just talking about a falling out with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it is traumatic, and it definitely is a grieving process. I don't want to discount that. But if you're still relitigating a situation that happened 2, 3, 4 years ago, or you're like, you know what? I shouldn't have done this. And there's nothing to be done. Like, there's no amends to be made. You've said everything you needed to say. There's not really like closure that you need. Like, the situation's closed, but you're still like, I really did not like the way this person made me feel in this situation. And it's been 3 years. You might need to do some energetic work around that.
Mm-hmm. So I actually think we should also talk about soul ties now. To all my Love Island folks. You know, soul ties is crazy.
Soul ties is crazy.
I mean, if you don't know, me and Jen love Love Island. We've been watching the USA season, hands down the best Love Island season out there. So hit us up if you want to have a conversation about that, because we can go on for a while and talk about that. But no, I want to talk about this idea that comes up called soul ties, where, you know, it's commonly talked about in the kind of realm of like abstinence in the church, where it's like if you have sex with someone, it creates a soul tie that, you know, you don't want to have. It's kind of like a shaming mechanism, basically, to keep people from exploring sexuality in the church. But, you know, I think there are some things that are related to kind of these energetic chords that correlate that we can talk about. So I don't know. How do you feel about soul ties, Jen?
Soul ties, it feels like a spiritual sexual STD or a spiritual STD.
Spiritually transmitted disease, or STDs.
Yeah. But specifically like with sex, I've even heard people take it as far as if you were sexually assaulted, you have a soul tie with the person, like the offender, which I feel like is really problematic and really dangerous.
But in this context, though, right, wouldn't there still be an energetic cord that you would want to cut if that was something that you experienced?
Fair. And this is where I think it's dangerous.
Yeah. Sometimes
we have these conversations around us signing up for really traumatic events, like our souls incarnating and signing on for every single thing, good or bad, that happens to us in this life that we're experiencing. And I think that you have to handle that with a lot of care when you're talking about people who have very deep trauma or deep abuse. Yeah. And so when people are like, oh yeah, you have a soul tie with the person who did something terrible to you, I feel like they're not taking the care to be like, I think that if you have some severe trauma, energetic work could be very beneficial.
Got it. I think it's the terminology maybe that is like insensitive.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
Yes. I think those situations and those people have to be handled with a lot of care.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we'll just throw out like, oh, you're forever entangled with this person who took something from you without your consent.
Sure.
It's very problematic for me.
Sure.
However, I do think that we should be careful. This is not abstinence only, because I hate abstinence only sex education. But I do think we should be mindful of who we're interacting with energetically, right? I think especially if you start playing with and trying to develop your psychic abilities, you might be a little bit more sensitive to certain situations, or you might walk into a public place and be like, the vibe is off. I gotta go. And that's part of being mindful and having discernment about like where you let your energy interact with others. And I think that you also need to kind of take that same type of care when it comes to sexuality. So I don't think that means like don't have sex, because that's shutting down your sacral. That's your pleasure center, your sensuality, your sexuality. I do think though, if we added on that same level of discernment when we walk into like a public place or a house party and we feel like the vibes are off, I think we need to be mindful of like who we're being intimate with energetically. Like even if it's a one night stand and it's a small hit to your energetic body, your energetic field, wouldn't you want to know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe it's just a Reiki session. You can do remote sessions with Mick. Maybe it's just that. And maybe that's fine. Or maybe it's, just going into meditation and trying to clean up your energy, or like paying attention to how you feel after those types of interactions. But it's just about being mindful about where you put your physical body and your energetic body.
Sure.
Which I guess is the chakras and shotguns way. Like, where are you putting your whole self?
Yeah, self-determination, right?
Yeah.
Like being like self, kind of in control, like basically not just kind of operating as if, everything's all good with everything, right? Like just being vigilant. So how do you cut a cord? Let's talk about that. You mentioned having a Reiki session with me. Reiki sessions are all about kind of, clearing out your energy, allowing for energy in the Reiki universal life force energy to flow into the places where it's needed. So that's definitely something that you can do with me, either in person or remote. I do want to mention, though, that there are certain cord cutting rituals that different practitioners will use. And so there are a lot of folks who like to use knives made out of different crystals. Most commonly is the selenite knife. And they'll use that to actually cut the energetic cord. That's not a practice I use. Again, I think that cutting is in a lot of ways violent. And in meditation sessions that I've had, what I've seen is that a lot of times when you do that cutting, that the cords can oftentimes reattach. And so how I've been mentored is to do a more gentle approach of actually releasing, and actually releasing it with love, so that the cord can stay detached. So it's a process that I walk folks through as part of a guided meditation. I will use tools like I have a rattle, I have a feather that will kind of help to energetically move that cord from your body. So that's how I approach it. Again, if you see someone pull out a knife, if you go to them, it's what a lot of people do, and you have to just kind of decide for yourself if that is aligned with your energy or not.
Yeah. If you're a DIYer,
yeah,
you want to handle it on your own, we'll give you some steps to do that. So you want to get yourself into a meditation, get grounded, maybe even do a guided meditation on your own. Like if you're not, you don't have a real meditation practice, you can easily do a guided meditation to just kind of turn down your thoughts, get yourself super grounded. Then once you're in that space, you want to invite in the person that you're trying to cut or release this cord with. And so it's almost like imagining, we're going to bring up the Matrix again. Actually, I'm going to bring up the Matrix. Wow. So where Neo and Morpheus end up in like that white space before Neo starts learning how to do martial arts and all this kind of crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of space that I usually envision when I'm doing that visualization and I'm calling that person in front of me. Yeah. And that's a time to basically say last words. It should be a conversation of closure. It shouldn't, you're not really inviting them there to cuss them out and be like, you ain't shit, you ain't never gonna be shit. But just say like, hey, this was really hurtful. And I really loved our relationship or our friendship, but I can't continue in this space with you. Mm-hmm. And I can't continue being entangled with you in this way. And I need to release you. And if you can, and if you can't, that's a sign. Mm-hmm. If you can, say like, I love you. If you were in, especially if you really love that person, right? Mm-hmm. I'm releasing you with love. I want the best for you. I hope you take care. Now, if you like some other people, who was that? Kevin Gates? There was like an interview he had on The Breakfast Club. Yeah. And he was like, I don't wish you the best. I want you to die. Go to hell. If that's the space that you're in, I would strongly suggest therapy, forgiveness exercises. Like you have to come into this really in either a space of forgiveness or really just being able to let that go. Yeah. You have to have done the healing around that. And I think that's why it takes time. It does take time. So you have to have fully healed and been like, okay, the situation happened. It was hard. It was traumatic, or I didn't enjoy it. Hopefully I forgive this person. Mm-hmm. And I'm better without the person. And so I want to release this energy. And so once you're in that space, then depending on if you want to, you 21 Savage, it's a knife, Or if you want to just release it, just envision yourself seeing that cord in between you and say, I release this attachment with love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about being in this space of love, feeling that emotion of love, that I don't want to say like the frequency of love, but like, you know how you feel when it's out of love versus out of anger.
Yeah.
And so you release the attachment and then you can exit the meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be a lot.
Yeah, I would say definitely have some tissues on hand. It could be a very intensely emotional experience. So you definitely want to be prepared for that. I would also consider having some tools on hand. So think like sage or incense, just to kind of help to clear the space before as well as even afterwards, so that you can kind of be in the right headspace for that release.
If you don't want to remember all of those steps, you're like, girl, that sounds like a lot. And I'm not going to go back and write it down either. You can find the guided meditation on Patreon.
Nice.
We're going to do a guided meditation, a guided cord cutting meditation that's exclusive to Patreon members. So we can really walk you through and take our time walking you through that visualization so you can do that.
I think you should, if you feel comfortable, talk about your most recent experience with cord cutting, because that was kind of deep.
It was a lot. Yeah. So this was a person who I had a very deep friendship with for almost a decade. And we had a falling out. It was very traumatic. It was probably the longest friendship that I had ended in my life. Mm-hmm. So I had been through friendship falling outs before, in high school or college. Yeah. It was usually over something petty, as those relationships tend to end. And this one hit deep. It hit deep. It was like family was involved, kids were involved, and it was a lot. And while I did a lot of work around it in therapy, I felt like I was still going over it. And Mick was such a beautiful soul for letting me bounce things off of him about in January of 2019, when this happened, I thought that maybe they shouldn't have handled it this way. And And he was like,
well, I was just going to say, if you ever need a court reporter, I got your back, because I was being like, yo, you can say that, but do you remember this time and this time and this time and this time, to kind of help her recenter and remember why,
yeah. And let me tell you something, Mick don't play about me. Okay.
Definitely not.
He don't play about me. He was like, I wasn't going to say nothing, but I was remembering this, and this.
Note the time. I got the time stamp.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah. It was coming up in dreams. This person was pushing me off of roofs, or popping up in That's why I said, if you could imagine a situation of you being in that person's presence again, because I never ran into them again. We lived in different cities. And what that would look like. And it was very awkward, and they were trying to get my attention. And so I would have these dreams, and I was like, I don't want to dream about this person. I want to move on. And so I think the final straw was Mick and I were watching a show. We were watching Traders.
Yeah.
We were watching just watching a little reality TV show. And the end credits were coming up before the next episode. And I said, Mick, pause the TV. And he was like, what? I was like, oh my gosh, this person is not in entertainment at all. And they have a unique name. And I was like, pause the TV. I saw their name. And he was like, how did you even see that? Remember, it's credits. Yeah. So there's 12, 15, 20 people on screen.
I missed it.
And it was just zing. And I was like, oh my gosh. He goes, you need to do you need to do cord release and cord cutting something. Yeah. There's something going on, and you have to let that go. And I was like, I've done it before. And you were like, this was the nuance. And so you told me you need to do cord cutting, cord releasing something. And I told you I've done it before. I've sat down and done this before. I did it years ago.
It was frustrating. You was like, yo, I did this before.
I know, leave me alone. What the fuck? And you said you need to do it with love. And I was like, oh, there's a nuance for you.
There's a nuance there.
Because I had not done that. Because I had felt so deeply hurt by how everything had happened. And so when I was ready, I took some time. I sat down and I did it. And I immediately felt lighter. Sometimes when that person comes to mind, it is the lighter parts of our relationship. So I can look at them fondly and almost like removed to a certain extent. It's not that I missed them, but I was like, oh yeah, we did have a good time with that. I think there's still lessons in that situation, right? Where I'm like, well, this person did this. I'll never allow that myself to be in that situation again. So I can look at those lessons now with, almost detached or non-attachment, right? And so, yeah, that was actually really beneficial to me. So, yeah. And when that person does come to mind now, or even if they do pop into a dream, it's more so, okay, what am I feeling in this moment? What's going on? Are there other feelings? Like, is this person popping up because I need to like kind of check in with myself and how I'm feeling about something, and less of a feeling of I'm still tied to this situation and this person and I can't move on. So
the last thing I'll add to this is that if you're going through this process of letting go and releasing these energetic attachments, I highly recommend writing down in a journal what comes up for you, how that experience goes, what things you may see or feel or even smell or hear as you're kind of going through that deep meditation, just so you can always kind of come back to that and remember if there's another situation that you need to release, what that felt like for you. And speaking of journals, just a little sneak peek. My boo's working on something special related to journals, so y'all stay tuned.
As always. I'm always working on something. Okay. All right. That's the show. Thanks for coming back. If you're a consistent listener, we took a little bit of a break.
A little mental health break, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we probably need to do some TikTok socials around that, because I feel like there were a lot of lessons in that time that we took away. Yeah. So we'll definitely talk about that. Friendly reminder, again, I'm like a dog with a bone. Check out our Patreon. There's so many goodies in there, y'all. You really don't want to be out of the loop. Just look at it. Just see what see how it feels. See how it feels in your spirit. Especially if you want that cord cutting meditation, though. For real.
Absolutely. Finally, guys, if you're loving the show, please subscribe and give us 5 stars wherever you listen.
Namaste.